Hey y'all, I made it. Had to take some rest today, but it is October 29th, 2024, and I had a good day going to the doctor. The executive director of Faithport International took me for some pre-op appointments, and we had a pretty cool day. But while we were out, we were just driving back in traffic talking, and I said something that really kind of registered with me, and it was about pain management. And I don't even know if she realized it when it registered with me, but we were talking about pain management. I was like, yeah, well, I don't even know. I ended up on whatever pain management I was on recently because I had to get rid of the other because it was being stolen. Now, I thought it was stolen by my first nurse who was terminated for stealing the medicine. I think I've mentioned that before. But this dog, y'all, when I talk, he's like a toddler. Anyway, I thought it had been stolen by the nurse, but it was really my husband. And what occurred to me was that once I realized that it was actually him stealing the medicine, that right there, that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, yeah, you know, nothing is ever going to change. But I still didn't think like he really meant to harm me. And I didn't think that because I'm not a sociopath. I don't know. I can't diagnose anybody. I'm just saying what I see on TV. I'm not a mental health professional. However, it takes a lot to do what he did that I clearly remember now. But it's hard to believe that someone, well, that you love and that's supposed to protect you will harm you. And I've said that before. So I've seen a lot of messages asking, how do you know? How did you know? How did you remember? And I've also said before that it was through therapy, but it was also through these indicators after the fact, after the love bombing wore off again. In the beginning, it's, oh my God, I can't believe I almost lost you. It's terrible. I'm going to straighten up. I've been bad. I could have lost you. And here I've been a bad guy. I've been mean, right? I would later find out that he was on heroin and meth and coke and things I don't even know if I'm allowed to say on social media, but that's what I found. I don't do any type of drugs. I'm a teetotaler. Um, so then later, other things like when I was really pulling myself up to try to recover, which is something guys like this don't do, or people like this, I should say, because there's women this way too. They don't recover, they don't rally, they're not resilient. Um, so when I was recovering, then I was back to being insulted. Like I got my life coaching certification, because a life coach helped me pull myself back together. And he told me he looked it up on graduation night and told me it was a fraud or a con. Now I can see that he's like, oh my God, I set this bee on fire and she's still got a certification. I haven't done anything since college, which by the way took him 8 years to get his bachelor's. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna let that go because Jesus does not like ugly, but it's just something that makes me snicker when somebody's making fun of me, and it wasn't the first time. I had done other things in our life since we've known each other, and he would always belittle them, but I didn't understand it. They take these little jabs at you. It's like, I got a personal training certification while I was working as a paralegal, and he made jokes about it. When people are doing that, it's not harmless. Good people that are doing more than you will never, ever criticize you or stop to say a foul word to you. People who are doing things don't have time to think about belittling you. And then I got interest for doing makeup and being a positive influence on other survivors. And man, my eye looks bad. doesn't it? This is the eye that needs work. And I'm looking at it, and it is so bad, and it is so much different than this one. It's almost like it's not even in there. I'm not going to cut this out. I don't edit these videos. I want them to be a true diary. So we'll remember this because I'm going to get this worked on, and I'm excited for that. For any improvement is improvement, you know. Um, but anyway, I was being noticed for doing makeup as a burn survivor, doing documentaries, and the first time somebody was coming from Shake My Beauty to make the documentary, and they were going to be there at 8 a.m. to start filming for the day at our house. We needed to film in my master bath because I didn't have a makeup studio yet. I was just getting started. I used to do my makeup in a bathroom, and they wanted to film me doing that. Don't you know this dude did not get out of bed at like 7:45? He's still laying in the bed, or maybe it was 8:45. At quarter till the hour, he's still laying in the bed, and Miriam needed to come up and make the bed. I don't want the bedroom looking bad, right? And I finally pulled the covers off of him. He's stark naked, and I say, you can either get up, or she's coming up here and making the bed. Period. But again, that's him telling me, I really do not like you, and I really can't stand the fact that you are resilient and strong. So he got up, and that documentary got made. And then there was another one. There was a few made, but only 2 in the house. And I think I mentioned the other one that was RTL News Germany. And they came. They have a New York office, and they came to visit and for the day. And I was pretty proud of that because our last name is German. And I've told this, I think, in another video. But long story short on that, I was pretty proud because I talked to his dad every day, and I wanted his dad, who's elderly, to know that we had done something really cool. In Germany, the documentary gets made. I start to send it to the family. They don't know what I'm talking about. They have no idea we even did this. Now I can see. I was like, why didn't you tell them? And the look on his face was so unwell. I can remember it. I was just like, what's wrong with you? You know? I mean, all these things are in retrospect, right? All these things are in retrospect. But I was like, what's wrong with you? And I'm sending it to his family, and they don't even respond. They're just kind of like, whatever. Like, it's no big deal. I don't know what he's told them, but here's a 6-minute documentary on the equivalent of NBC in Germany that everybody watches. And they're just kind of like, because he's not the star of it. They feed. The narcissist family feeds them. So, thinking of it now, I feel very thankful that nothing else happened after he disabled me. Because his jealousy was still spinning out of control. And it probably even got worse. I know, apparently his drug addiction got worse. I had thought I'd never seen anybody on meth, but apparently I'd been living with somebody. I never understood why he would get up and drink coffee in the morning to get some sleep. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I was like, that's so quirky. You drink coffee and you go to sleep? But that's sort of the same action as with ADD. You know, I don't know, but now I can see that it was at least a decade of that. He lies about it, but it was clearly a decade of it. So, yeah, all those things were pre full memory, but it all feeds in together. You have to believe the memories, and that was a big thing too, because again, you just keep denying it. Like, okay, he's a jerk, but he's not a attempted murderer, right? I mean, how do you? It's a far stretch in a decent person's mind. Now, in an abuser's mind, the comments I get are, oh, well, what did you do? Oh, well, you must have done something. Oh, this is a whole grown up adult mess. No, it's not. It's an attempted murder. When somebody does something like this to you, you don't have a part in it. They're committing a crime. And if you know somebody who's thinking that way about it, beware. They're saying it because of their life experience, not yours. Also, after I was burned, I learned later, my one family member told me that he wasn't called after I was burned. One family member is all that needed to be called as I laid in a coma after being burned, third and fourth degree burns to my entire face, upper 35% of my body. I've been in respiratory arrest. I've been in AFib. The doctor that saw me that night didn't think I was going to make it. And he called his brother, who was a doctor. And that doesn't seem so bad, except it was December 18th when this happened. And then thereafter, on the day after Christmas, his brother came up. And still, he hasn't contacted my family at all. My daughter contacted my family. He contacted his family for support. And because he didn't understand what the doctors were saying, that's what his brother told me. He was confused. He didn't understand. Y'all make of that what you will. But coming up to meet with the doctors, because if you didn't understand what was being said, there is a telephone. During that time period, or even before his brother came, everything had been removed from the patio. The fire pit, the furniture, the grill, the table, the gazebo, the trash can, everything. And it was still stark barren when I got home 6 months later. I was like, where's all the stuff? I removed it so it wouldn't trigger a bad memory for you. I didn't want to give you a bad memory. And he was looking for houses to rent so I wouldn't have to come back to that house. I was in a coma. He had set me on fire by mistake. I was dying in the hospital, fighting for my life. I remember the nightmares in that coma. I fought to stay alive. I wanted to see my kids again. And he was out viewing houses for rent in the area within the first 2 to 3 weeks. Actually, within days. He doesn't want me to have to come home to a house that gives me bad memories. He actually even left the hospital that night, and the nurse made a note that a patient's husband came in to see her. This is before I even got transferred to the burn unit hospital. Patient's husband came in to see her and says he'll meet her at the burn unit. There was no guarantee I was even going to make it out of that first hospital. I was not in good shape. They were trying to find a medical transport, and instead of staying by my side, she makes a note, he needs to go home, and then we'll meet her there. He immediately went home to clean up because he's only thinking of himself. So there's no accident in it. It was very purposeful. And after he did it, and I remember that as well, but there's no way to even write it off as that. It was very purposeful when you have all the facts. And even after he did it, he was only thinking of himself. Let's say it was an accident, which it wasn't, but if it were, he had to leave and go home. Would you leave your dying loved one laying in the hospital? Hey, maybe I'll see you at the next hospital in a few hours. This is how bad emotional abuse can get. It's not harmless. I didn't suffer physical abuse for 15 years. Emotional. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of excuses for why their life is sideways and then want to blame a victim in a domestic situation. And to that, I say, you are the problem. You are abusive. And we are still more resilient than you. I love y'all. See you tomorrow. Whatever you're going through, this shall pass.